especially the ones who are listening to this probably because you're really into the esports scene. All right, what was I on it? Okay, so I'm trying to sell this Give Me 5 idea. I made a demo for them that's basically an altered Give Me 5. I didn't want to keep it specifically about Warcraft. I wanted to kind of focus it on, or generalize it more on electronic sports. So I kind of talked about Quake, and I talked about, Unreal and some of the other bigger games in it. And I also kind of focused on, the console area of it, because console is where a lot of these guys are probably going to have more knowledge on it. And I'm not a big console fan, but, I talked a little bit about the Wii and the Xbox 360 and some of the other games that are coming out. And, I had a lot of quotes from other things. So anyway, the demo, I'm really, really proud of the demo. I think I did a really great job on it. It was, scripted, but I didn't make it sound as scripted, I don't think. It was, I edited heavily with Audacity, which is, kind of what I do. I don't really edit a lot of my audio commentaries, but I did a lot of heavy editing with this one, mixing in some nice background music and kind of made it geared toward their station. I also did some sample kind of pretend commercials. One was for Balls, the energy drink, and it's one of my favorite energy drinks of all time. And I also did it for the Durex Play Ring. This station, it's Durex is a condom brand, and the Play Ring is, some kind of device that you would actually use on your tool to enhance the sexual experience with your mate. So the radio station actually kind of does a lot of this kind of sex humor and stuff, obviously to appeal to the male crowd. So I kind of put those commercials in there, hopefully to kind of either get them a laugh or, possibly even get Durex eventually to actually sponsor the show. It would be kind of interesting to see if that could happen. So yeah, I did all that in the demo. I've been emailing and talking to these guys. I'll tell you a quick story later on, but I've been emailing and calling the producers of certain shows. And how this all started was actually a lady was talking about, electronic sports really briefly on a talk show I was listening to on my way home, I don't know, about 2 months ago. And I just decided to call in on a whim because I thought I could say, hey, electronic sports is big. There are people who are into it, and there are, this is the kind of news to older males that, and this radio station, that they wouldn't know about. They wouldn't know that there are professional gamers out there getting paid grubby wages and getting paid, hundreds of thousands of dollars or, $80,000. Anyway, getting paid to play video games by itself is a big thing. And not a lot of people know about that in America. It's huge in Europe. It's huge in Asia. But, America mainstream media hasn't jumped on this yet. And it's just, other than G4, which is a cable show that, you have to have cable to listen to it and get it. And not a lot of people have that, I don't think. Or not a lot of people are even interested in getting G4 on their station other than us who are, video game fans. So to get this in the mainstream media and to kind of get, people interested into electronic sports and video games is kind of my goal here. So yeah, I called in on the show and I kind of talked for maybe five minutes with the host of the show, and he was like, wow, he was so amazed. He sounded really, really interested. And I was like, hey, it might be interesting to get a show on you guys' radio station. And he's like, yeah, I think that's interesting. And then they cut me off of the show, but then a producer came on and said, hey, we're interested and we want to hear from you, so call me back and tell me a little bit more about your idea. So that's kind of when the call started, and I haven't got a lot of calls back from them. I've been leaving lots of messages, I've been emailing them, I've been trying to get responses from this producer and from the guy who is in charge of shows over there at the radio station, and I've had a hard time. So here's the funny story, the cool story that I got something to tell you about. On my way home within the past week or two, I heard that they were, after I already started this other job, the show that I had called in on said they were doing a live show at a venue, and they were doing it at a restaurant somewhere that was like 30 minutes away from me. So I rushed home, I got my girlfriend in the car to come with me, and I rushed over to this restaurant, and they stopped the show about 7 o'clock. I got there about 6:30, so I kind of stayed and watched the show as it was going on. But when they ended the show, I went up and I talked to the producer guy who I had talked to previously on the phone, and I never met him in real life. So I introduced myself and I said, hey, I'm the guy. I don't want you to think that I'm bugging you. I'm not trying to harass you. I just wanted to introduce myself, shake your hand, and kind of see if you had any ideas for me, or if I was going up barking up the wrong tree, if there's someone else I should talk to, all that stuff. So I shook his hand, shook the producer's hand. He seemed a little apprehensive at first, but I think at the end of the conversation, I kind of had him calm down, and he seemed, he seemed interested again. This guy seemed like this is something we want to pursue, but he hasn't been calling me, he hasn't been emailing me, he hasn't been responding to anything, and it's just kind of a pain in the butt when I know these guys are busy, big executives. They got a brand new radio station that they're trying to, bring in, a lot of, sponsors in, and they're trying to do a lot of stuff. So I'm probably not high on their priority list, especially, a producer of a hit radio show. But, they said they were interested. So I'm, following up on this because this is something I'm passionate about. Okay, so I talked to him, and then I went and talked to a sales guy who happened to overhear the conversation, and he heard that I was having difficulties talking with the producer and with the guy who was actually in charge of the shows. So he gave me his business card and said, hey, email me a demo and I'll see what I can do with it. Even though he's just a sales guy, he does work over there. He has a job with the radio station I'm trying to get a job with, so hopefully he can do something with it. I haven't heard from him yet. Lastly, I actually wanted to talk with the star of the show, and obviously he didn't have a lot of, I don't think he has a lot of say of what actually goes on at the radio station, but, since he was the first person I talked to about it, I know he would remember me because he was, excited about it initially. And so I waited until he actually went to the bathroom, and then as he's coming out of the bathroom, I kind of jump in front of him. I'm like, hey, I don't want to say his name because you guys will get it, the name of the show. I'll talk about it later with you guys if you want via PM or, if something actually happens. But I talked to him. I was like, hey, I'm the guy who called earlier about 2 months ago about electronic sports and video games and trying to get a show here on you guys on the station here for you guys. And he was like, wow, you guys, I can't believe you came and met me. He seemed actually excited to hear from me. And, I told him a little bit about the difficulties I was having trying to communicate with the producer and with all the other guys, and that I'm just trying to get my demo listened to. I actually sent them an audio portfolio with all my audio commentaries in like on a CD. I burnt a DVD that had gigs and gigs worth of audios and all the audio work I've done, including my shoutcast I did for TSN Central. So they have valid works showing that I have done esports coverage, with audio content. So I gave that all to them, and basically he seemed interested. He said that he would try to drop my name at the radio station. I don't know if he did or not. Since I talked to him on a Friday, they're off on the weekend, so I don't know if he remembered and maybe dropped it this week on Monday or not. But hopefully he did. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've talked to these people in emails for the past month, and I actually went over there and met some people. That's all I really wanted, was to shake the hands of these people. Because if you talk to someone in an email and you talk to them or you listen to their messages, it's different than if you actually see the person in real life and see that they're passionate and see that they're very persistent, which is what I am, obviously. And maybe that can kind of spark something in them to respond to me and to at this point, if they could just give me a call back